All right, thank you for staying with the Monday Report. Let's start that discussion again. Bruno Shioso is back with us. He's the National Police Service spokesperson, speaking to us about a myriad of issues, especially the state of security. Exams have started. We've seen some schools in Baringo having a bit of a hiccup there with bandits. We'll get to that in just a bit. But let me read a statement that came out after public outrage following an incident that happened on Professor Wangari Maathai Road, where a young lady was accosted by alleged border operators after having an accident there. Part of the statements that I was sent in by Honorable Justice Martha Koome, who's the Chief Justice of Kenya, says, it reads in part that I join other Kenyans in condemning the heinous and cruel acts of violence meted out against a young female motorist earlier on today, and I register my unequivocal voice in declaring the act cruel, inhumane, and obsoleting of any sense of humanity. She further says that I hope the perpetrators will be apprehended and processed through the criminal justice system in a systemic manner, observing careful considerations of criminal investigation, prosecution, and efficient judicial management of any preferred case in accordance with the tenets of the Constitution and the rule of law. There's still more that came in from Women on Boards Network. Statement here that was authored by Catherine Musakali, who's the chairperson of the Women on Boards Network. It reads in part that the WOBN strongly condemns this incident in no uncertain terms as unwarranted, and the physical attack on the lady driver and her person in what can justifiably amount to sexual harassment with intent to cause bodily harm. Whereas we acknowledge the rights of all the road users and pedestrians, in our view, there is absolutely no justification for the actions evidenced in the said video clip. We note that there are traffic laws and other legally recognized due processes in resolving cases of traffic accidents, whether caused by a vehicle driver or a border rider. That statement is signed by Catherine Musakali, who's the chairperson of the Women on Boards Network. There's several of them coming through. Let's see what you're saying on Twitter before we discuss the state of the nation now and state of security. Let's bring that up and see what your conversations were. There's a lot of outrage there after that incident that we now know there's been some arrest. In fact, we have an update coming up for you. Captain Ochenge says, kindly ask him, apart from just impounding motorbikes, which other measures are they yet to put in place to handle the situations so that it doesn't happen again? Let's start from there, actually. Captain Ochenge wants to know, which other measures have you put in place apart from impounding the motorbikes?
Yeah, Trevor, I mentioned much earlier that we're pursuing another strategy of education. Yeah. And this is part of the traffic road safety program, done jointly by the traffic and the NTSA. Yeah. So that's one area we have to focus on, and maybe in a more targeted manner, because generally we have been doing it in a generic manner, targeting maybe all the motorists on the roads. Yeah. But now going forward, I think we have to sit down, have a special package where we should be reaching out specifically to motorbike riders, especially the borders. And I want to stress the issue of the borders because I've been talking to some other people throughout the day who are actually bikers, but they're private bikers. And they're equally very upset with what has happened today. Yeah. And they say that, they have been part of this bias because of how the borders people behave along the road, their culture. Yeah. And now because of the general bias from the public, even them now they have been victimized in a way that they can't enjoy their rides with their motorbikes. Yeah. Yeah, that's their hobby and maybe their mode of transport. So it's an area we have to pursue very vigorously so that we put a stop to it. Okay. And just restore sanity on the roads. That's the best we can do. Okay. Yeah. There's another statement here also from the National Transport and Safety Authority. They say as investigations continue into the assault of a female motorist on Friday, 4th of March 2022, the authority condemns the actions of the perpetrators of the heinous act and calls upon all border riders association stakeholders to support the government efforts at restoring law and order in the subsector. Are you simply depending on the people to report these incidences, or do you have your own tracking mechanisms, and have you arrested any more people up until now? Yeah, we don't just depend on people reporting to us. That's one way of getting the reports or being alerted to us. But again, even as police officers, we're supposed to be out there on the roads to patrol the roads and make sure there's free flow of traffic and maybe detect other offenders. So again, on our own evolution and through our own enforcement measures, we should again detect most of these cases. Yeah. And I've already said that we also have this outreach program, so we actually target and reach out to them in terms of maybe road safety awareness. So there are so many other measures that we put in place just to make sure that we engage and interact with them and make sure that we try to man the roads. How many of them do we expect in court tomorrow? Yeah, so before, when we began this show, I mentioned that there were 16 who were arrested. But by now, the numbers at least swelled to around 32.
So the numbers, you've arrested 32 now?
As per now, with now around 12 motorcycles impounded.
Okay.
Yeah, and just because of that outcry, I mean, now officers, even them, they're upset. Everybody's out there.
Yeah. And
you have very good leads. The moment you arrest one or two, they'll lead you to others.
Okay.
So we are out with them, and I want just to take this opportunity maybe just to thank the Nairobi Area Command, and Mr. Mugera and the Traffic One, Mr. Mukata. They are doing a fantastic job coordinating all this operation.
So the numbers increased from 16 to 32?
32, as we are speaking right now.
Motorbikes that are impounded have also increased from 5 to 12?
To 12.
Okay.
Still pursuing more.
Okay.
Yes.
So they will all be arraigned in court tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow, straight away.
All right.
Just the way the CS said, I mean, they have to be pursued through pushed through the criminal justice system.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's bring up another question that's coming up on Twitter here. Sylvia Mukasa says, besides border borders, please ask why we still have touts or makangas harassing women and girls to board vehicles at bus stops. What is the best way of dealing with this, Mr. Bruno? Because it's true that sometimes there are touts that may harass female operators or female passengers. I
can't just give maybe one way of tackling it.
Yeah.
Because what I can say, as police know, we do it from one end, and this is the back end of law enforcement. But again, you see, this is just a matter of behaviors, issues of culture, where us ourselves, I mean, as people, we must be well behaved. That's first. And secondly, I mean, these are people who are brothers, who are sisters, who are sons, and maybe our daughters. So as a family, what do? I mean, are we bringing out our kids in the right manner? I mean, are we taking our role of trying to be part of, I mean, a moral society? Yeah. So the problem I'm seeing here is, I mean, maybe the larger community, they kind of abscond from doing what they should do on their part, and then the whole problem is pushed to the law enforcement. But for us, our measures are limited because it's basically law enforcement, arresting, investigating, and taking to the criminal justice system. Yeah. But then the issue is, I mean, does that really change the behavior? Because it should start with the behavior of the person. So I don't know if it starts from the family. It should be set from the family right through the schooling system, where people, I mean, should be just courteous. Yeah, and just do the right things. Okay. Yeah. So what kind of evidence would you require when such a case happens? Because you see, the thing is, some people are too traumatized to even come and report. Can the police take action without an actual official report? And what kind of evidence would you require? Yeah, for the Traffic Act, it's very easy. Because first of all, I mean, if there are other people who've seen what has happened and they bring the report, or there's maybe an officer maybe who's around the vicinity and has seen what has happened, or even using this technology, like right now in Nairobi, we have CCTV cameras. If we can be able to capture that, because most traffic offenders, most of them along the roads, they are kind of petty offenders. Yeah. So the threshold of handling them through the criminal justice system is a bit lower than the normal criminal offenders. So it is easy, yes, that even without somebody complaining, as long as it's well captured and that evidence can be presented before the court, we can, as long as we have the suspect. Okay. Yes. Let's talk about this, shift gears now and talk about education matters. Exams began, and we know now that in Baringo particularly, exams were disrupted in 2 schools, Kapkusum and Muchongoi. What is causing the insecurity in Baringo, and how are you going to deal with this? The Baringo insecurity issue is not just an issue of today. It's a perennial issue that keeps on coming up. Yeah. And it goes with the geopolitics for the area, the location of the area where it is, and so many other issues like the cultural aspects of the community surrounding that place. But basically, at the bottom of it, what I can say is that the main triggers of this is that contestation on resources. These are people basically who are pastoralists or herders, and most of the livelihoods or the cultural livelihood surrounds around that activity. So as we know right now, the climatic conditions right now in those kind of areas, they are lacking grass, they want water, so they'll move to other areas of other communities, and then conflicts will erupt. Yeah. Basically, that's at the bottom of it. But then beyond that baseline, or the base of the pyramid, there are other issues now, maybe other interests which will come in, maybe like some kind of politics and some other maybe agitations. So, but at the bottom of it is just a matter of resources, where people feel like, I must get what I want from the other side. But the other people are saying, no, this is our place, don't come over here. So then there'll be those conflicts. At the end of the day, it becomes now a law enforcement issue, where police now have to move in, first to pacify, and then the rest of government will come in to build a peace. And it's a perennial issue.
But does the police know who is involved? Because if you're to deal with a problem, first you have to know who or what you're dealing with.
Yeah, and what I'm saying, is that those kind of areas, they're not like Nairobi here. And you see, we are talking about bandits who operate from a very tough terrain, where even for the officers, even for them to penetrate, even to know where they are, it's not very easy. And there are not people, it's what we call asymmetrical kind of attacks. You see, it's not like, you are being told that there are robbers over here, or maybe you have intelligence about the robbers and you're trying to profile them, or maybe trail them, and then, no. We're just talking about people who have been erupted from a bush somewhere, do some sort of criminality, take some cows from people, kill others, and then they disappear again. Those surprise attacks. So it's not something, and then you're talking about an area which is very expansive. It's, forested, and then the topography of the area is unbearable. So Guta Valley, those kind of places. But then they have mastered the area. So it's not an issue you're saying that maybe there's a police officer there and then there are badges over there and you are seeing them and then you plan how to win. No. People just surprise and then they disappear again. So it's a very complicated situation. I've worked over those places. I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So there's the surprise element and then there's the home ground advantage.
Yeah, it's the home ground. These are people, that's their home ground. And then that's their lifestyle because they live there and that's where they greet their animals.
Yeah.
You see, in those bushes and gullies and wherever it is. So police, you can only be stationed at a place.
Yeah.
And people are all over. You can't know where they are in the first place because it's a bush. There are no roads. There's no nothing you can't access.
What happened to intelligence? Because police usually have a way of infiltrating to different places and having their own people giving them information when something is about to happen. Yeah, intelligence. Are you saying the place is so vast that you don't have enough intelligence?
Intelligence works. But that's in conventional situations. But I'm talking about unconventional situations, asymmetrical situations. It's very difficult because we are talking about situations or conflicts between communities. Yeah. So if community B is here, who will give you the evidence? It's like even maybe the rest of the community or most of it is complicit. Yeah. Either by directly or indirectly, primarily or secondarily. Yeah. So who even will give you that intelligence? Yeah, where you'll find somebody like me, I'm a senior officer in Nairobi here, but I come from community A, which is having this problem, and I'll still side with it. It's complicated. Okay. People won't understand maybe from Nairobi or from other places, but when you go there, it's a tough issue for law enforcement to sort it out. But we do all the best we can. We deploy people where they can reach, and we are all over the place. Yeah. But somehow, you see, these people have the advantage of the ground, the terrain, the culture, and everything. And then there are people, Yeah. And intelligence is about collaborating with the people. So when our whole community is hostile, maybe, or is part of that organized criminality, either directly or indirectly, and you've seen even some pronouncements maybe from some leaders. So it's a bit, challenging for law enforcement, but we are there, we're on the ground, we're in the trenches, and we do all we can.
Do the curfews help?
Yeah?
The restriction of movement.
Yeah, they do. They do to an extent, and especially maybe in areas which are a bit built up. But most of these again happen. Like a place like Laikipia, it worked very well, because there are most parts of it were kind of built up settlements of people. So it was very easy to deploy. To utilize the curfew restriction measures. Yeah. And then deploy police officers over there to make sure they enforce them. But then some other areas now, like what we're having in Baringo, just in a bush, kids are passing with a vehicle, and people come from the bush and spray the vehicle and disappear. And the police can't be everywhere. Even in the best case scenario of the UN of one police officer per 450 people. And then those people you put in one room where if people we wake up, go to work, wherever you are, and there's a policeman in one place, you can't really police whatever somebody's doing, on a given time. So
what strategy then are you using? What is your long-term solution?
Yeah, long-term solution is for all of government, and that's what actually is happening, but it needs to take time. We have to invest in so many other measures. First of all, we have our partners, we call them in short GAO, these are the provincial administration. It starts from, they're all over, right from the top up to the assistant chief, to the headsman. they are very important structure in terms of, it's like the backbone of security. So what happens is they have a clear mandate of trying to reach, because they live with these people 24/7. They know them. Most of them come from those communities, like the chiefs and sub-chiefs. So they have that role of building the peace. Barazas all the time, trying to pacify, building the peace, and all those kind of other measures. And again, by extension, what we mentioned about the issue of intelligence, if they can't get some intelligence, they can push it up. Then we have our leaders, these are the politicians and other leaders, not just politicians, but even other opinion leaders. They have a great role, actually, because these are people who are listened to, who are respected by these communities, and their word counts. So we usually appeal to them. They do just what is right, and most of them do work with us. You saw last time the CAs and the IG were in Nakuru with the leaders from that region, just trying to map strategies on how to go back home and preach peace and talk to their people. So that's another, again, strategy of using leaders of whichever persuasion. And then, of course, we have other players against the civil society and the rest of government trying to come and open up the area. Yeah, because you will find maybe, I mentioned about the first issue of, the basic issue of the trigger.
Yeah.
Yes, the issues of resources. Mm-hmm. So can we have other alternative resources for the areas?
Okay. And
development in terms of opening up the roads and where security can easily reach when there are distresses, and just that opening up the areas in terms of development. So these are socio-economic, political issues that have to be sorted out from holistically. And then, of course, us as the law enforcement, we have to be on the ground, boots should be on the ground, and do what we can to make sure that we are with the people, we secure them, we reassure them, and just protect them, their lives and their property.
Yeah. Is having the army deployed there a solution?
Yeah, you see, army have their clear mandate, it's known. I mean, it's for territorial integrity of the nation. But they are still our partners in law enforcement. So, yes, they don't go on the ground as boots on the ground, yeah, to, I mean, on the law enforcement issues. But they can be on the ground to support us in terms of maybe like what I've talked about, like development issues. They're really good in them, like the engineering corps. They'll come over there, and where they feel is a place, maybe, like I'll give you an example of Laikipia, where I've been with them, and my team is still embedded with. We work together closely with them. But on the issue of development, so they'll go to schools, make sure that, I mean, at this school, I mean, are well resourced. If they need water, they drill the boreholes. If there's need for a road. And that, again, plays a very great role in trying to open up the area so that people can have other alternative means of economic empowerment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you assure a parent or even a pupil who's watching tonight in Baringo that they are secure?
Oh, they are very secure. These are our children, and we love them so much. First of all, let's wish them success. Of course, first of all, good health throughout the process. And we, as NPAs, we are there to support them, especially by securing the whole process of the examination so that the integrity can be above board. And it's not just now. You see, we've been working with the stakeholders in this, in this sector for all this time, up to today, and we shall still be with this process up to the end of it, up to the marking of the exams, and up to the very, very end state of it. So we want to assure all the candidates, right now, even the ones who will sit later again for the exams, that they are very safe, and our men and women are on the ground with very clear instructions and mandate of protecting them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
is this situation any different from Transmara? Because we know now 6 people have also been injured there.
Yeah, basically at the overarching end of it, it's the same thing because of the insecurity issue of clashes between maybe communities, but it's different when you go to the specifics. And the other side, we are talking about issues of resources. In Transmara, I've worked there again. I've worked on the Kisii side. I've been the head of CID on the Kisii side, but I know all about the border. So the problem there is yet the issue of the boundaries. Yeah, where maybe the other tribe feels maybe the other people are encroaching or whatever. It's just that, I mean, that sense of communal coexistence on a common border. And it's been, again, another perennial problem. Somehow it keeps on flaring, I mean, especially during such times of politics. So we want to believe maybe there are some people who take advantage over that. But what I know, because I've worked there, these two communities, they have always lived very well. They do their business together. Jointly, they have those the marriages.
Yeah.
Yeah, so slightly it's different from the other one of Baringo,
okay.
and the larger Keru Valley region.
Okay, let me take a quick break and come back with questions from the people here. So we've got a number of them on Twitter. We're taking that quick break in the Monday Report. When you come back, we'll pose some of your questions to the National Police Service spokesperson, Bruno Shioso, in just a bit.